Welcome back, everybody, to the NLC 2023 Summer. Veteran is alarmingly close to the camera, and I don't really know what to say about that. Those eyebrows, though, that's... Yeah, okay. The Riz is strong. Ruddy, what have you got to answer that? Come on. My favorite analyst right now
I wouldn't want to contest.
Come on, you got to impress me.
On that.
Okay,
no,
fine. All right,
I'll
you're
impress you with
two.
my humility. You just got to let some people take their wins where they've got them. And if Veteran wants to have a who gets closest to the camera competition, I'm going to let him have that.
I'm hearing some jealousy, Rududes. I'm hearing some jealousy that I have spurned you in favor of Veteran. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. He also got the draft wrong last game as well.
Oh,
this guy sucks.
Okay. All right, just cut his legs out from under him. You know, kick him while he's down. That's a bit better. All right, Rudy, we'll start with you then to maybe give you a chance to redeem yourself. We've got ourselves a pretty interesting matchup on paper here. We've got ourselves, of course, Ruddy up against Vanir. Both teams a little inconsistent, I think, to be fair. But we've had some pretty interesting discussions off air and prepping for this series about how we expect this one to go. And have you got a particular angle you'd like to start with first on this?
So the point that you always have to make in a Vanir composition is ban Aphelios. We need to address that one first, and then we can move on to the next point.
Step one, yeah.
Step one is ban Aphelios. And then the second part is when Ruddy are looking for... what Ruddy have tended toward has changed vastly throughout each different week. I would like to see them head towards some more bot lane focused attention as well, because I think that Toaster has looked really good since week number 1. It's just been a complete turnaround, and I want to see Rakan as well for Pui. That duo has been really impressive to me. If they can facilitate Toaster and Pui, be it with Pui getting out on the map or getting Zapdo down into the bot side of the map, it generally results in success.
Easier said than done, though, I think, Veteran, because, of course, the likes of Liam and the bot lane, honestly, from the side of Vanir, have been looking on the up and up right now.
I mean, they have, again, so long as you give the Aphelios one trick as Aphelios. It's the new Draven, all right? Like, you don't give a Draven player Draven, you don't give an Aphelios player Aphelios, right?
Can they 4-weapon switch consistently? Maybe don't give them the champion. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Do they even know what those are, you know? Then already, like, you just don't want to.
Exactly.
But you also have an interesting clash here where both teams do have the option to do hard plays through the top lane, right? Normally, we look at top lane in basically any other league and, you know, it's Tank City, it's Poppy into Gragas like I saw in the last game.
Yeah.
Here, whenever we see that, it's somewhat of a waste. We actually have a lot of players who play the kind of stat-checking champions top side, and here we do have the Frenchman on the side of Vanir in Katano who's able to do these stat checkers, and you may well see some bans levied against them there. So there is an option here for Vanir to bring the fight up, but Shihan is very, very willing to match him in that regard, right? He actually moved up with top lane carries in solo queue.
Step one complete.
Wow.
Sorry.
They did the... So interestingly, all 3 of Vanir's wins have been on Aphelios, and all 4 of their losses have been with Aphelios taken away. So we'll see if that remains. Otherwise, these guys are going to be very even by the end of the day.
Yeah,
I want to posit a secondary tool here for Vanir, and I spoke to you about this as well initially as when we were prepping, that Harbo has just this last couple of games actually really stepped up on carry champions specifically. Syndra, Silas have been 2 champions that they've also found wins on, and I know a lot of the attention has been on Liam Cole because he's been getting Aphelios and popping off, but I have to highlight Harbo as well with these carries, has genuinely been impressive, and for the first 4 games was playing things like Annie, Silas, Cassante. Now when we're looking at the more carry-oriented mid lane, there's a chance for him to step up with Liam Cole off of Aphelios.
I'm enjoying the hand symbols there from Veteran. A quick note on the other bands on the other side there before I get to that. Sejuani Maokai off the table against Zapdo, who has... Oh no, I think it might be down to deductive reasoning again. We'll find out.
I was trying to signal Yumi Milio being up.
That was what that was.
The code
like, what is this? Is this like a T? Is this like, what is this?
I don't know. I was thinking, how do I do a Y here? I have absolutely no idea.
Veteran's a sorcerer. He's throwing out some hand symbols. Been playing a lot of Diablo 4 and just like really getting into like all
I actually haven't gotten to play any of that game.
It's quite good fun. It's quite good fun. I've done it now. We'll move on very briefly.
Advertise it.
Definitely not that. Just talk about it. That will get us in trouble. We've seen the bands quickly away from the danger zone, guys. Back to League of Legends. we've seen the bans. Obviously, things like the Aphelios off the table very critically by Ruddy. On the other side, it was some of the more facilitating level 6 semi-tanky / engage junglers that were pretty heavily
Sejuani
prioritized.
Maokai was down.
Yeah,
LeBlanc
exactly
was also
alongside
down.
LeBlanc.
Static Shift
Exactly
champ.
that.
Yes.
So it does
blue
mean things
side
like the
band
Milio
of Olaf.
is up. Yeah, it was Olaf,
Yep.
the Aphelios, and Vi. So it does
Yep.
mean
Milio,
that Milio,
Yumi's up.
Yumi are up. Yes, as you kind
That'll
of
be really
highlighted.
interesting because I think Yumi has a lot more potential on the side of Vanir than it does versus others. So what I really like about Yumi and what I really like about Ardent's Rush is if you have a solo laner that can utilize the Ardents, then I think Ardent's Rush is really good. Otherwise, I think you're kind of inting doing it. I think they need to read the description and realize it's ally levels,
Yep.
not your levels.
That's
Given
a fair
that you
point.
have a Darius, Garen, Olaf, though the Olaf's being removed, stat-checking top laner, I think you can go for the Yumi or Milio side of the trade, and we're likely to see a double Enchanter trade, rather than just go full heavy on double engage. Or maybe Ruddy will do what Rude Dude said, which is go for this Zyrakan again. They went for it yesterday, but they are giving up priority if they're doing this, knowing the enemy's very happy to go for the Enchanter. So that's the big question in my head.
Well, we
here we
have
go.
just been given some potential
Yumi.
answers. First pick was Zeri. They get the Milio. They also get a Yasuo. The response, though, is some very potent picks of their own, namely the Nico, the Yumi, the Xayah, all on the side of Vanir. Zeri and Milio, two of the more potent picks that have been around, but it's versus the Nico and the Yumi. I think the only seriously spicy bit there is that Yasuo, which has kind of reared its head a little bit here in the NLC, but not super commonly.
Envy Carry has 3 plays on Yasuo already, and has a 100% win rate.
Precisely. Yeah, been a big pick for him.
If Ruddy are going to win games, Yasuo mid has seemingly been the champion to do it on. Obviously, they're 4-3, they found a win elsewhere, but they've also got Zeri, a champion that has a new build path, but still a very scary level of burst now, as opposed to consistent damage. You go Shiv into full AP and you just annihilate people.
Yeah,
One quick question here, Veteran, before I let you go on. From my vague recollections, though, when they have run the Yasuo, hasn't it been often alongside things like the Sejuani, which was banned away? What do you? I mean, especially now you've got
The
things like the
Gragas
ability
is
to
up.
ban away the Gragas. I mean, but is Gragas not going to get banned, surely, here?
Yes,
I mean, what do you
that
actually want to
has to
see
get
yourself
banned.
draft? Of course
The
it
Ornn
does.
is also up, and they have played Ornn as well. You have
okay.
to ban all these knockups. If those are both banned, Poppy is still up. You still have options to get the additional knockup in.
Malphite.
Another thing I want to say is that the order of picks really matters here. The Xayah is the 3rd pick on red side, and so they picked it after they saw the Yasuo. A very good disengage tool into what you now know has to be engaged. And they went for the Yumi trade, which indicates to me that Kitano is likely to be on an Ardent's heavy champion, right? Now, the big thing there is I actually think Zeri Milio is completely useless. I think that's a terrible combination. I think it has no real value
interesting.
whatsoever.
So,
and so I
we
would
have
feel
seen
much
some of
more
it in the
comfortable
LCK and
with Vanir.
LPL who've been kind of happy to run that lane and just say, well, we might not have the best lane ever, but we get some shove and just turn up and be really powerful at like 2 items. But you were right about the Ornn. It's locked in. It's into a Renekton, which was the 4th pick. So that will kind of work with the Arden as a kind of an earlier spiking champion. Wins you Herald fights early. All of those things at level 7 when you just have, you know, the ability to press dominance and get 2 empowered abilities at a team fight. And that's just really disgusting. Yeah. But we've got last picks now from both comps. Rude Dude, what do you want to see to round out these comps?
We're missing magical damage for Ruddy heavily, and they've got jungle left to pick, it looks like. So they're going to struggle, honestly, because as Veteran mentioned there, Gragas and Darius were banned against them.
Wait, Nunu.
Nunu?
Nunu, Zapdo is a big Nunu player. Basically, a Nunu one-trick. Gives you knock-up, gives you AP.
New rel, let's go.
Also not a bad shout. I wouldn't mind that, actually.
It could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, magic
do
damage is what
have-
one side's missing. Go on, Veteran.
Yeah. I mean, you do have stuff like Lily up, right? There are AP picks, but it is the Nunu because I'm the greatest to ever do it. And is that a Malphite?
Malphite mid!
That is a Malphite into the
Nico
Yasuo.
Jones.
I love this.
Nico jungle, then. We were talking about this flex as well earlier off screen. That Nico has
the jungle, that's true.
so many unique jungle clears.
I think it's best.
It's Malphite jungle. Watch it. It's going to come in and just clap excitedly a load of raptors.
I think it should be Nico Jungle. I personally of the opinion, and I expressed this yesterday on cast, that Nico Jungle is the best position for Nico right now. And it's you basically are running, to go back to an earlier conversation, Renekton Elise, but in another form, right? You have the double stack of CC, you have the mixed damage, you also have that bot lane with the Xayah, and mid lane with the Malphite, it's really obvious how your combo is. I think that would be perfect if they go Nico jungle.
Yeah, and funnily enough, me and Ruddy had similar conversations about Nico when we were prepping this on as well. So yeah, I think we're all on board with that one. Of course, the ability to play at mid lane, potentially get some priority there, allows you to play other things in the jungle. You can understand why it is a flex, but I think it is a little bit surprising in some ways. We haven't seen it go towards the jungle as much, but perhaps our prayers have been answered, gents, because it is likely going towards the jungle here. And we've seen both comps. Envy gets the Yasuo, but it is some fun answers here on the other side. What are you thinking with these kind of comps all locked in? Have you got a particular favorite in terms of how they're likely to play out? Because they are quite different.
I think for me, I want to harken back to a couple of interviews that we heard from Vanir, and specifically we've heard from Liam Cole and we've heard from Kitano. Liam Cole said, if you ban a Felix, I would pick something else. Now is that time where he's picked a different carry. Yep. This is a Xayah for him, and we have to see whether or not he's got the same hands on Xayah as he does on Aphelios. It's time for him to step up and prove his worth. Kitano, we heard in interview say, the first couple of weeks we played heavily toward top lane. We didn't get as many results as we did when this week we played toward Liam Cole and he ended up carrying everyone. So again, this is a look for Vanir to hopefully play more toward Liam, get him facilitated, make sure that this area is behind the curve. And I think specifically when there's an Ornn in the top lane, playing against or playing like to an Ornn as Vanir seems counterproductive. Your Renekton is going to be fine in that matchup regardless. Just try and get Vanir's Liam Cole ahead.
And then I'm looking at Ruddy Veteran. And what do you... okay, go where you're going with this one, because I feel like you've got something you really want to get out here. What have you got?
Yeah, I mean, I look at this, and I think Vanir have the more synergetic composition. I think they have the better lanes all across the board. I think they have everything needed in a vacuum to win this game, but Ruddy have the comfort.
Statement.
They have Yasuo on MB carry, they have Zapdo on Nunu, they have ease of execution, but they have to fight to make this work because they naturally lose every lane and they naturally lose every 2v2 and they naturally lose every 3v3. This is going to be a bloody game.
And in fairness, we were all having this conversation off screen where we said, look, when Ruddy don't have priority, when they've had a bit of an awkward draft, they default to finding the fights, picking the fights. And in fairness, when you've got a Nunu and an Ornn and a Yasuo and a Zeri you can jump over walls, you do have the ability to just brawl if you want to. Maybe it's not the easiest option here. A little bit of a note from production here as well. Some player facts for you all. Toaster played 3 games in the EULCS back in 2016 with Origin back in the day. Wow. It's been a hot minute now.
It's one way to take over Niels.
Yeah, right, yeah. Now, of course...
Because it was Niels back then, wasn't it?
Was. Blimey. Sven, now, of course, the Cloud9 sport back in the day. Toaster back on the horse, so to speak. Of course, in a slightly different capacity here down in the ERLs. But I think Veteran had some pretty strong words there about how he felt the early lane in particular would play out. But, of course, you know, you get a Zeri, you get a Yasuo backed up by the likes of Amelia. Okay, never mind. We got to fight. Liam did not enjoy that at all. Burst fire becomes more like full auto as Liam Cole loses 2/3 of HP. That's a heal as well. They just kept chasing down. Brutal level 1 start for the side of Vanir.
And it's not just that, it's the experience missed as well. They are going to be so late to the lane. Level 2s for Ruddy. Certainly going to hit a lot sooner. Liam Cole, Garfield going to head into that laning phase significantly weaker. We saw just at the top there, PP Bat did the Nico jungle thing. Turned into a ranged caster, or turned into a melee caster, or melee minion rather. First of all, because they have higher attack speed. Get that clear down a lot faster, and then you can make your way through your camps very quickly.
That's the play. Certainly what they're going to attempt to do, and see the Nunu just going for a massive snowball across the map to go up and get towards that Gromp nice and early. Potentially looking to shield this top side from any potential shenanigans. Maybe that's a term we'll use from now. And as it stands, a relatively stable early part. But of course, poor old Liam and Garfield took a rough level 1 trade. But that's been about it as far as excitement. It's a level 3 gank. It's as fast as it comes. Kitano about to be on the wrong side. Oh, this snowball is about to be more like an avalanche. Caught in the tower, taken very low. We'll be looking to heal up, but it just doesn't matter. First blood and adjacent mode to the side of Shiha.
Yeah, Nunu has a lot of advantages in the current meta because you don't emphasize so much sort of transitions from lanes in towards other lanes, and you're looking more at this 1v1, at this 2v2. Then what you really want is a champion that just permaganks off cooldown, and Nunu is that, and Zapdo is a Nunu main. He's even likely to look for a repeat gank on top if he can, because top lane wave is not yet fixed. The Nico, on the other hand, opted for that full clear. Like you guys were saying, you're going to see the big dichotomy between a full clear jungler and a full ganking jungler right now.
Can they keep it up? You asked them to start finding some advantage, some discrepancy elsewhere, because individually, in terms of some of those straight-up matchups, it might be a little bit tough for Ruddy. Thus far, thus good. They get the initial kill topside, and here we go again, looking to try and get onto Pippi. But they won't quite happen this time. It's a good use of the clone, and now Envy perhaps in a spot of bother, but the way it's being shoved in will be just fine, and we're left with not too much to write home about there is Zapdos will pick up the Scuttle Crab at the very least.
And Ruddy can fight for the spot side 2v2. Malphite
Yeah.
3 level 6, not the champion that you're looking for.
Oh, there's another snowball coming. I think it's just going to be after Flash, isn't it? Harbour has to go, but the snowball can keep going. PP gets out of that one with another good use of the clone, but the Scuttle Crab is secured, but at the cost of a Flash. And you've begun to wonder there for a second whether that snowball was going to cause a bit more chaos.
I mean, burning the Flash on Malphite's already really good, because then if you can burn his level 6 defensively, you know, what can he really do? Or the regank.
Knock up. It's a good use of the clone. That's 3 in a row that have done a really good job there to block the Nunu attempt with the snowball, and got to be about for that. But you can see exactly how Zapdos planning to play, right, Veteran? It is just try and consistently find where these laners are and just throw a snowball at them.
Yeah, but Malphite has to stay, so you may even see another repeat from the Nunu. Yes, you were able to block the snowball, but you weren't able to get the lane in, you weren't able to fix the
He's got
state.
consumed. Flash consume! Flash consume! It's so good.
I think that was just a flash smite for absolute
Just
BM.
smite, yeah. It was just smite.
Oh, even okay. Slightly less exciting, but still cool.
Now, we'll have to find out whether that's worth it or not. They're just diving mid or looking for PP bat on the
Looking
jungle.
for the rat.
Okay.
Looking for the walls. Won't find it. Pui is here as well. You asked for him to be doing a little bit more on the map, but he's out of lane.
So,
Makes some chaos happen.
one of the powers of Nico jungle is that if you don't know where she is, she can be in any lane, popping in on
She
any
could be
wave.
anything.
Like, could be
It's
any
proper.
minion. The thing that Ruddy have done this game so far is just, not just track Nico, but bully her as well. So that she can't just turn up in a lane as a minion. You just know where she is at all times. It gives your laners a lot of freedom. And if, of course, you do find yourself in a game with a Nico jungler or a Nico support even that finds roaming quite significantly, one of the easy ways to know is this minion Nico is just if you hit tab and you don't see Nico on your minimap, but the little Nico line is highlighted, like basically you see them on vision, you know that one of those minions is Nico. That's the little tidbit for playing against a Nico minion.
I would say, though, despite the best efforts of this Nunu, the Nico is still actually ahead. The top lane is still actually doing really well. The mid lane is actually ahead. Only bot lane has a significant advantage, and they were able to get that from that 2v2 level 1. So yes, Zapdos being very, very active on the map, but the actual effect it's having on a composition that outscales his, on a composition that, once it hits 6, has very easy accesses to fight, and counters their own composition strengths, is not the biggest right now, except for the fact that that Xayah Yuumi looks quite useless coming into the first fight. So much is on that Nico to make it work.
Quick heads up as well. Of course, you are seeing our beautiful faces. Of course, Veteran there, showing us all to shame with that ridiculous jawline just slightly sideways. I see why he's got the camera angle set up. It's a bit irritating, Rudy. We need to sort
That's
this
why
out.
he doesn't need the beard, you see.
I know, it's very annoying. Exactly. But with that in mind, we have got a little note from production that is a player lagging that has caused the pause. Once that's been resolved, hopefully back into game shortly. But perhaps I will throw out this as a continued conversation, because while the Nico is still managing to farm, there has been some wards on the camps, and much like something like an Evelynn, Nico is going to be Nico when she's farming camps, when she's using her abilities to get through those camps, and it's a lot easier to track the Nico on the camps, much like it is with an Evelynn when you're warding against them. It's similar warding patterns, and actually Nico hasn't managed to get any ganks off. You are seeing at least her being forced out of the river consistently, and it has meant that that level 1 in bot side hasn't really had any room to be contested, because obviously the Malphite had to flash, and Nico's being contested the Gromp, and I guess, Rude, dude, despite the Nico still farming okay, is it enough when your bot lane's kind of being just hammered off a really rough level 1?
I think it is, right? Veteran really just touched on.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here, basically.
Yeah, I think that with bot lane going as well for Ruddy as it really is now going to harken back to something I'd sort of highlighted for the draft, was can Pui and Toaster relive what they'd been doing in previous games where they'd found those wins? And it's going to come down to now not just having a significant lead in the lane, because you can see from the CS, the items, that they've got that. They're going to need to translate that. And that means Zapdos looking for early dragons. It means that they're rotating up to the top side to secure early Rift Heralds. Because as Veteran mentioned, Vanir outscaled. They have better lanes, and Ruddy are going to have to force this bot advantage very hard.
And we're back to the pause. We're back into game, and I had hope, but alas, it's
What a
to us
cliffhanger.
again. I know, literally. But I mean, there's a
Still
cliff
gonna
in the
last
mid
it,
lane.
that's
It's the Mal fight. See what I mean? I don't think he's hanging on right now. He's doing quite well. I think that's a bit unfair, actually, Veteran. He's playing quite well outside the flash going down. I mean, where's
Yeah,
that
no,
come
he
from?
is. No, the Malphite's doing quite well in lane,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they were
he is.
able to get a very temporary freeze on towards him, but everything that they did to get that did cost some minions on towards the Astro as well. And you have to also bear in mind, Zapdo's showing a lot of XP. Zapdo's not getting that much farm on himself. He got that one smite away, but even with that one smite away, Nico's still farming. I don't think it's on Nico to get a lot of ganks early on, because her 6 is where she gets super powerful, and she hasn't been significantly delayed from that 6 point.
I mean, you're looking at a level 6 that's pretty strong across the board, honestly, from the side of Vanir.
Yeah.
Like, you've got that Pot Blossom, you've got the Malphite ultimate, which is, like, let's be real, most of that champion's power budget. You've got, obviously, the Yuumi ult is nothing to sniff out. Xayah getting to press R and prevent the level 6s on the other side being as impactful, particularly things like the Yasuo trying to fly at her. You see exactly how that comp's supposed to play. I mean, you kind of said, look, the onus is on Ruddy to outplay what is a potentially difficult draft scenario.
Yeah.
And again, it is, by the way, I'm not sure whether I mentioned it before, the same issue as before. The player is lagging. That's what the pause is about. And it does give us a little bit more time, at least, to continue the podcast we started in game 1. And Rude Dude, I guess with this in mind and the questions that have been asked about Ruddy, what do you want to see them do to try and tear apart what could be a very difficult 5v5 scenario if it does get to the mid game in particular?
I think they've already shown it. I need to see just more, basically. Zapdo just kind of has to play like a little bit of a psychopath, honestly, on this Nunu, giving up camps.
I mean, he's done it so far. He's flashed for a grub.
And try and generate further leads. I think if they're really trying to push the foot to the floor, it might result, or it might come to a dive on that bot lane. You get a stacked wave, pull NV carry down. Maybe he sacks a wave mid lane, and when that you hit the level 6 Yasuo versus like level 4 Xayah in the bot lane, you try and dive it, make sure she misses a massive wave. There's a easy tool there, if of course you can set up for said type of dive. But it's the generate early leads to make sure that when you come to the compositional disadvantages, you've got enough of a wallet to be able to beat that back.
Yeah, you just need that rainy day fund. And maybe I'll kind of continue on from a tangent with that with you, Veteran, in the sense that obviously we've seen a pretty decent laning phase, frankly, from that Zeri Milio that you weren't a fan of, particularly in the lanes, but it's obviously come out to pretty decently. They've got a cull that's halfway done. They've got themselves the boots. They've got themselves 20 CS. They've kept the Yuumi and the Xayah trapped on the tower pretty well. But I guess from this point, what do you actually want to see the Zeri Milio do, considering they've managed to get an advantage perhaps against the run of expectation in your mind?
I mean, now it does mean that Malphite flash is going to be very painful. Because the big macro thing that you're losing here is that this is the timing you want to be doing Drake. This right now is the 6-minute time you want to do it. Harbo's about to hit 6 on this wave, but he has to be very careful at the angle at which he approaches because he doesn't have the freedom to just flash over terrain into ult. He has to be really face up. Right now, you'd want to start getting Liam Cole ahead. You'd want to start contesting lanes with your Malphite, but you can't contest this first Drake because of the lack of flash there. So they just instead have to trade sides again. So even though the economy seems fine in the rest of the lanes, that flash burn's actually paying real dividends right now for Ruddy. It's an Infernal. That's a pretty big thing. That's going to give you a lot of value the later on in the game that we go. Liam Cole just needs a big fight, which is contrast to from draft, or you're thinking Ruddy are the ones that need fights.
Yes, that is rough.
Yeah, I mean, he got heavy zone level 1 there, right? Heavy zoned.
And I'm just seeing like the cozy campfire plus the burst fire, that Q from Zeri doing a lot of work right now. Into the river we go to see another scuttle contest, and I think you did a pretty good job of summarizing what you want to see from Ruddy's kind of bot lane priority they managed to earn for themselves. They do get that 6-minute dragon timer, so feeling pretty happy about that. Did have to seed over that scuttle crab though, didn't feel confident enough with Shihan back in base to look for that. We got ourselves about 3 minutes until teleports come unleashed, and about a minute just under until the Herald will spawn. And are you expecting a particularly heavy contest from either of these teams, Rude, or are you kind of still waiting to see who starts moving for it?
I would be okay with Vanir trying to contest this very, very seriously. They've got 2 really big ults. I think about quite far from level 6. Basically, whenever you've got Unstoppable Force, you want to use it. It's just such a powerful team fighting tool that if you're able to, find a 5v5, 3v3, even if it's on that top side, you really want to try and leverage that for an advantage. As you've mentioned, there's no Drake for another few minutes. you do pick up that Herald, stop any sort of early cash injection into Ruddy's comp, it just really flatlines what their avenues to success are.
On top of that, Veteran, I'm looking at a Renekton who'll have Dominus and Iron Spike Whip and level 7 to 9 at a Herald fight as well, which is always a pretty scary thing to consider, but...
Fighting right now. Yep, there you go.
It actually is, okay. That's a lot of damage back, and that forces the Dominus before what could have been a Herald or a bot lane contest, so actually pretty well played there from Shihan. So I was about to set you up to talk about the strength of a Renekton instead. Actually ends up in a bit of a rough spake. Maybe turns one back, does have the Conqueror. Decides against it, the flashes were up. I kind of wonder, it's actually on the bot side, Pippi-Bat and Garfield taken so desperately low, the lightning is crashing, and it will get grounded. It's a 1-for-1, a little bit too close to the sun, or in this case, the tier 2 Towers. Harbo is kicked on the wrong side.
Nice.
Unstoppable force, damage back is pretty good. Ooh, down goes the Nunu, but on the other side, big kill onto the Nico. Now Envy beginning to run on through. Blades are flying, but so is Xayah. Over the wall they go, Pui in a difficult position. Needs to be afraid of the daggers, but it's a kill onto the Malphite, a knock-up as well. And Liam Cole has absolutely nowhere to go. A Gromp is just a speed buff to the Yasuo. Triple kill to Envy carry, the deadliest sin of them all.
3 and 3 so far for NV carry on the Yasuo. He's played it 3 times this split, has got 3 wins, and is showing why Ruddy value this champion so highly.
Where do you go from that, Veteran? What do you do after that kind of ridiculous contest?
Well, they were unable to have both their cooldowns up at the same time. For whatever reason, we didn't quite get to see. But Nico had to burn her ultimate right at the start, so the Unstoppable Force could not be paired with Nico's ult there, which would have been the burst that they need to completely mitigate this. Instead, they all got caught, isolated out individually. I love these kind of Godzilla fights on top lane where they just whack each other for ages, by the way.
Bait. Force the flash. Overcomes Pippi-Bat.
He's chilling.
That's fine. He is chilling. He did have to learn the flash, and that's a bit sad, but he's chilling well enough.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll know. But everything was led off. They were able to isolate, burn them one by one, and in those isolated scenarios, Yasuo wins every 1v1, right?
Yeah.
So he had the perfect condition. All of this isolation happened. He gets all of the kills. He gets a triple kill, and now MV carries on a comfort champion that is mega fed, that has a composition with a lot of knockups to enable him. This aggression from Ruddy has pulled off this game. Yesterday it didn't work out. Everybody was living on like 1 or 2 HP, but this time, all the HP bars went to 0. Slight addendum, felt really bad for Liam Cole there, because if his E on the Xayah was able to get that last hit, he would actually have landed a decent kill there and could have potentially turned on MB carry, but unfortunately wasn't to be. Game of inches there.
Unfortunately for him, Ruddy are going up in the world in this game, and that's just a difficult place to be, and you can imagine the hashtags flying already. Oh yes, there's that angry B emote. The Herald was secured by the Nunu as well, and of course you are in a game with the Nunu. That makes securing objectives that much trickier for Vanir, because Consume Smite is a tale as old as that champion has been a thing. Pippi-Bat in the mid lane, though. That's that combo you asked for. He's in danger, just goes down in a matter of moments. Nice kill for the side of Vanir.
Not a lot of counterplay to that, unfortunately. If you're NB carry with no flash, you either flash it or you die, and we ended up with the latter of the two, and with the Drake spawning in 10 seconds time, that window is fortunately offset by the fact that Toaster and Pui are still absolutely dumpstering this bot lane, forcing Liam Cole to go back to base, so you're going to have 2 big carries for either of the teams respawning and coming out from the platform at the same time. Notable absence is that Shihan's made his way down to the mid lane, where Kitano hasn't.
Harbo taken pretty low in the mid lane there, and that's going to chunk him out as Shihan has decided to roam on down. Remember, there is that Herald in inventory for the side of Zapdo, but all the while, Kitano getting a nice chunk onto this turret, and the dragon has spawned. What have you got for me, Veteran? That was a big noise.
Yeah, I mean, you had the on shift in to enable that play on mid lane, which enables their Drake, but you're just being traded for topside, because now the waves, being as in sync as they are on the collapses, you are guaranteed to be trading on the other side when you go for a roam like that as Ornn. So this Renekton and this Nico, they could become big vocal points. We talked previously about how Vanir can do these triple threat compositions. Liam Cole is no longer a threat, right? He's not landing any of these E's. He massively messed up level 1. They burned so many summoners there that Toaster could basically do whatever he wanted. And as a result, they need ways to open up, and collecting that bounty on the Yasuo mid on the Nico and getting this much gold into Gitano, we're seeing the route back into the game for Vanir.
I guess my question then back towards Ruddy, though, is that something that's worthwhile doing? Because I feel like with the way the meta has generally been viewed over the frankly, the last season, generally speaking, is AD carry difference has been so difficult to overcome in other parts of the map, especially if it's a sizable one.
I would tend toward yes for this game, honestly. Or rather toward this being very Ruddy favoured, even though we see a lot of topside control for Vanir just off of Kitano and PPBat having decent items. I would like to say that the power of having Toaster ahead of the curve, have NV carry very fed on the Yasuo. This at the moment is definitely favouring the Yasuo, and I'm looking pretty much exclusively toward Kitano to put the team on his back for the time being. I want to call out the Toaster build for the time being. We are on 13-12. This is the patch where Sheen got removed from Zeri's queue, so
yeah,
we are going to have to look to see if Toaster is weaving in those, quote, passive auto-attack, however you want to theorize it, procs, very quickly to get the Sheen going. But outside of that, the Trinity Force still gives a lot of AD, a lot of movement speed, and the fact that it doesn't proc Sheen now for Toaster is a little bit disheartening, but you still get good stats from it, even if it may not be the most hyper-efficient as it was previously.
That's a fair call out, and I'll also call out quickly that the Herald was summoned relatively late there in mid lane, which I believe NV Carry was close enough to pick some gold up on, but I wasn't quite sure, so if anyone else spots it and I was wrong, by all means call me out now. That would be a good timing for it, but it's going to go down, and it does leave Ruddy with a fairly sizable gold lead as it stands of a couple thousand, which is decent at this point in the game. 3 minutes or so until we'll be looking at another dragon, which is not a Mountain Dragon, it's a Hextech Dragon. It is just the fact that the spectator gets deceived by Hextech Drakes. So do not get confused by the timer. It is a Hex Rift, which means potential for Hexgate shenanigans.
Possibly. I do think Ruddy have two of the best Drakes you want with this. There's two of the Mega Tanks at top.
That's a Dominus in response, and we had a brief pause there in the action, but some more coming back through. There's just nothing to be done. Kitana might have a gold ring, but not left there, and now the trade in mid lane is good. That combo you called for, the Malphite and the Nico, is very strong.
So we're seeing the counterplay to having fed Yasuo, fed Zeri, and we're seeing why this composition for Vanir is going to look very good as we get later into the game. How has that happened? That 2v2 should not have gone that way.
Okay, well, somehow, some way, Toaster has been thrown in the bathtub and has found himself electrocuted and down. Big moment for Liam Cole, who was taken very, very low, but critically not down, and does somehow, some way manage to kick up Toaster.
I can explain. I'm going to be fined. Milio and Zeri together are just shockingly bad.
Campfiring straight increases Q range. Surely that's great. Surely.
True.
That's how that works,
Increases Q range to still being below where Xayah is naturally. It's so useless,
poking
right?
holes in my point.
That doesn't fit his narrative better, and I'm afraid you're going to have to...
True.
You're ruining the script.
I mean, if you're winning 2v2 bot, and your 2v2 mid is actually getting their ultimate layerings off, then suddenly the world looks quite bright for Vanir. Kitano drew so much pressure by becoming an ultra-fed Renekton on top side, and they've managed to translate that into advantages in their other lanes. So, when we get to this third Drake, when we get to this fourth Drake, maybe even on the first Herald, let's see how these guys are feeling. Maybe we just get a full-on contest and a team fight that could well be in Vanir's favour.
And to harken back a little bit to what we were mentioning earlier on about stats being maybe misleading, Kitano's had a very, very good game on the Renekton, and those pressure points pulling Ruddy up to the top side. It's 0-2-0, but actually a very valuable part of this Vanir roster at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll give some credit over to Zap, though, for trying to mitigate that pressure, but it's been needed, because that Renekton's been very close to some solo kills, got a lot of those turret plates, has drawn a lot of pressure. Does mean, though, that now we're seeing some snowballs and some potential chaos happening. Is Envy going to be in range? No! Tried to leave it a little bit later to get Envy in range, but alas, not to be. Kitano gets to draw an ultimate and get away safely. PPBat on a recall.
That he'd missed that flash. He's on vision.
He's going to be into... Oh.
Did you just get... Did you just...
also a clone. So...
Yeah, you got tricked.
Oh, it is a clone! I got baited. I got baited. And outsmarted. I genuinely thought that was him because people got to the side. He's just turned himself about. I'm dumb, apparently. There's the tower in mid lane that goes down. Liam Cole and PPBat around. They don't... The problem is, even if it's a Malphite, you still have to be afraid.
I still find people accusing you of bug abusing when you just do the Nico clone recall because they're just unaware.
They don't
you remember when the you remember when the Blanc got changed in season 4 and
Vaguely,
you can now
yes.
control the clone, right? And there were still
Yes.
people tricking you by just standing still as a normal one and moving the clone.
I still do
because
that. It's very
previously the
fun.
clone would never move. Yeah.
I think we might be bad humans, guys. We take a little bit too much joy in other people suffering. Teleports coming on through.
Least
Dragon
morally
number
bad League players.
Well, enough cackling about our own moral failings. Instead, we must
Here we
turn around
go.
this dragon. In goes Zapdos.
Oh,
Will
God.
not have to consume mine. So
Just chomps it.
hard to deal with. Flash on out now. Harbour can look for the flank on him, but it's no hard
Oh.
to get into anything valuable. Will knock up the
he's
Nunu,
up
but I don't know
there.
how much you're going
They're
to
not
get.
layering it,
We'll get a
though.
breath of light off in the
Oh, now we are!
Comes on through.
5!
5-man Pop Blossom brings down the hammer. They throw a little bit
Oh,
back.
no.
Yes, the Renekton goes down, but look at Liam Cole in the background. He's just untouched, so his damage back means nothing. The feathers finally fly, and Toaster has to get on out of there. 3 for 1, and Envy must run for the hills. They get the dragon, but at what cost? How close can PP get? Not quite close enough to pick up the Yasuo, and they get out with a monster fight. Do Vanir.
The replay must zoom in on MV carry. I saw that, MV. I will not let you get away with what I just witnessed, okay? When you show the replay, zoom in on this guy at the end, alright? Zoom in on this guy. You'll see it, you'll see it, you'll see it. But brilliant combo, staggered by Vanir, right? They didn't get Malphite straight into Nico. It was Malphite, a little bit of a pause, and PP Bat, he bid his time. He knew that he was going to get something in this chokehold, and when he went in, he nailed all 5 of them into the Liam Cole combo, into everything. Milio Zeri couldn't do anything about it. No counterplay at that point from the Yasuo. The Ornn was already burned. And the best thing that they got was a Drake. And that is big. They could potentially trade an objective for Soul or vice versa here. That still gives difficult options for Vanir and good options for Ruddy in a match state in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, it does bring the goal back to even. You're absolutely right. Puts them in a better space to fight the next few fights, but they are in a challenge position, as you said. They are still down a soul point, and that is going to be something they have to deal with, at least for a few more dragons. But they needed a moment. You see how their comp's supposed to work, and it was a beautiful moment indeed. Zapdo is a very fast Nunu, and will force some swift backing up towards their tier 2s from Vanir. But nothing more to be found as yet.
It's important to remember the compositions that or the pitfalls and the positives for both of these comps was that Ruddy really wanted to be ahead heading into this mid game, and their monetary value isn't the thing that they've got going for them are those Drakes. But we really need to see if Vanir can just if they find this fight around the 4th dragon and Ruddy don't either swap it for a Baron or absolutely rinse them at the Drake fight, Vanir are very happy. These next 5 minutes are incredibly important because Vanir are more than happy with how this goes if they don't lose a big objective.
Quick question to our observers, if they are listening. Can we have a look at the gold value for our individual players? And it'd be great to see where everyone's standing and where the gold has been allocated around, as you can see. Pretty solid stuff in the bottom mid lanes for the side of Ruddy, but it's that jungle. There's just so much gold for Vanir right now.
There is some pro-Envy carry propaganda happening where we don't get to see his flash fill and don't even get to see that team. I don't think I haven't noticed that, observers, okay?
It'll be on Twitter, you know it.
Veteran will be the one to put it there.
True!
In the break, gonna stick it on there. Envy, I know who you are. Oh dear.
I think they know,
Nothing
guys.
escapes.
I think they know that this this T-posing Malphite is the Nico clone.
This is a very aggressive play. They'll throw down the control ward, and that will force potential stoppers, PP Bat and Garfield, hanging over the wall and looking to prevent this damage. Down to 7,000 HP. Remember, this is still into a consume. This is not an easy straight-up fight. She had taken a little bit low, but if
they back up, it's good.
They are gonna back
If
on
they
that,
back
and
up,
they'll
it's good, because they've burned Harbo's TP, so if they played this to burn Teleport, it's good. So Vanir can't let them set up the map again, so Vanir have to do this.
What if we just take the Baron instead? They have to stop the Nunu from getting in.
It's harder, easier said than done. Call of Fortune comes across. They're trying to turn this one around. Down to 3,000 HP of the Baron. Pop loss into the backline is big. Down goes the Milio, but at what
just the Milio,
cost?
though.
So he dives back in. So much work coming from this Zeri, who is looking like a thunderstorm. Envy gets another, and Vanir have bitten off way more than they could chew. Shut down onto Liam Cole, who is taken straight out of the sky with another thunderbolt. Baron goes as well, and Ruddy get absolutely everything there. PV Bat alone survives the catastrophe.
This is perfect recognition from Ruddy. I said Vanir are happy if nothing happens in the next 2-3 minutes. Ruddy know they've got to force, and that's exactly what they do. Head toward the Baron, they play for the TP, they get that out, heal away, and then go back in with a very positive fight. PP Pat dives into the backline, but he takes out the Melio instead of the Zeri. And then there's the problem of the hyperfed Yasuo. Ruddy, very cognizant of how to play out the next 2 minutes, and they come out with a massive lead. Baron at their back, Drake soul spawning in 10 seconds time. Everything came up clutch.
Drake Soul spawning and Nico Ultimate will not be available for this, and Vanir once again have to fight it. The reason that the Baron thing worked out so well is that if Vanir just let the map get set up, they have no way of contesting this Soul or contesting the Baron in a trade because they had no TPs. So they had to end up taking a fight while taking all of the Baron aggro. Now, you can't layer Nico out here. It's not up.
Knocked up and knocked down. Paper beats rock, and you can see what's in inventory from that Zeri, turning from a toaster into a lawnmower. The Titanic Hydra's in. We are on 13-11, so this is a little ways before that gets nerfed. That means Zeri is so potent right now with this 3-item build. Hextech Dragon falls shortly, and that means Soul, it means Baron, it means Vanir in dire straits.
Well, I apologise to lying for everybody that we're on 13-12.
I got a note from production, by the by.
But it doesn't take away from the fact that Ruddy are now in a very positive position with this game, and the fact that PPBat may well be 6-1-2 on the Nico, but they've got a 3-item hyperfed Zeri, a champion that we know has been banned globally on this patch for as many games as we've seen it played. It's
quite strong.
It's very strong.
Quick addendum as well.
There we go.
Trinity fusion because of that. Ornn, and there's the fight under the tower. There's no need for any more addendums because this is a postscript. Vanir are dead to rights. Another fight goes against them. And Ruddy, despite some questions about their comp, despite some questions about the mid game, will come up clutch when it matters. And in 24 minutes, we'll move to 5-3.
That is indeed game. They have the Sheen up on Tosa, they have MV Carry who just demolishes towers on this Yasuo, and they have demolished blocks coming in left, right, and center. That's it. You had a really good combo as Vanir, but once it was out of sync once, it was on that soul point that it was out of sync, so Ruddy were able to force one contest into another contest, straight into a game win.
And I have to give some credit here as well. That level 1 from the bot lane put Liam so far out of the game that, yes, we saw the 1 kill back that was kind of off screen. But that kind of felt like it. They just had so much more value out of that bot lane, despite some, questions that was raised by Veteran.
I mean, I feel like the bot lane was severely outplayed in the initial fight that happened around Red Buff, right? Like, it really didn't have any value there whatsoever, and you're actually seeing the big weakness of the Melio. What ended up happening was that Liam Cole was basically 1v1'd by the Baron buff on the Baron contest. He was literally tanking Baron the whole time. Baron alone dropped him to 200 HP, and he could get last hit, so suddenly there was no bot lane. That was a difference in positioning by Ruddy. I love them forcing the TP, and then Vanir recognizing, well, now if we set up the map, we have no teleports, we can't play a wide map state, they can do whatever they want, so we have to do the Baron, and Ruddy were like, brilliant, you're tanking Baron, let's come in at all angles. Now we're coming in at all angles, Nico can't get a 5-man, Malphite can't get a 5-man, you have to choose, whichever side stays alive, we can still end up doing the damage. And that's exactly what happened. Liam Cole being abandoned there, dropping to 200 HP just on the Baron, kind of spoiled the entire game, and said it all. Really well played by Ruddy. Nice thinking.
Anything you want to add, Rud?
Well, I think it's not all doom and gloom for Vanir. That was certainly they had a very real world where they were going to win that game, and it was not a rare case, but it was a happy thing from me seeing Ruddy go out and win that game, as opposed to a Vanir style which would have been sit back and win the game, because if Ruddy had have done nothing, then we'd have seen a more than happy Vanir to start a 5v5 with better scaling, better team fight, and just win. But I think that the fact that they got to a point where they forced Ruddy into that situation where it was like, do or die, that was a very positive map state for Vanir to be in, even gold at 25 minutes in the game where they had a composition that was going to be very positive scaling. Getting there is good, and we shouldn't just be, can't take that away from them.
Yeah.
I was just happy to see Septos Nunu finally, right? You could really see
Finally.
Yeah.
Finally, like we're into the second round robin. We've been speaking so much about like this guy was a Nunu one trick when we were doing a prediction stream, right? Like when we're doing the tier list stream. It's like Septo, Nuno one trick. Let's see what he can actually do. I feel like that was kind of the consensus that you came to on that stream, veteran, right?
Yep.
So seeing him finally, like, again, he's been performing very well on champions outside of Nuno, but him coming back and like showing that Nuno is still in there, and I don't know if he was going to be like warning any like respect bans, but seeing that being an option is pretty interesting. Something that has been warning a few respect bans, generally speaking, has been this Nico, and they move into the jungle, veteran. Kind of take us through why that pick kind of ended up faltering here, but like why Nico is just much better in the jungle.
Well, you ended up seeing it there. Like, a mechanic with Nico that I don't think people appreciate enough is that when you do your Mirages as a minion, as something else like this, the way that the minimap compensates is it basically removes you from it anyway. So the ganks you can have over terrain are very difficult to predict if your opponent is in the middle of a fight. If you're having to have your eyes in the middle of a fight, you're not going to see the Nico coming in as a big blob on the minimap, which is normally what your eyes are going to be more attuned to. If it's just a random minion or something like that, your eyes aren't really going to be picking it up. So Nico has a lot of really decent fight angles like this, and you also saw in this game, sometimes somebody would go for a recall. Nico would delay the enemy's knowledge of that reset happening by turning into, say, the Xayah on the bot lane, the Malphite on the mid lane, or the Renekton on the top lane, and farm a little bit there, which is also good to get your jungler onto one item even faster. So there are many things Nico can do in the jungle with that Mirage. Very well played. Didn't work, but very well played.
I think I'll also shout out here that, you know, it allowed you to switch in a tougher matchup for the Yasuo, right? That you throw in the Malphite, who you aren't blocking anything with the Wind Wall. He gets to stack armor. You could see the combo there, just throwing the R down. There's no way Yasuo gets to block that. You have to be on the wave to stack your Q, to dash around, all those things, which makes you quite vulnerable to the Malphite pressing on. And that did come through in the mid game pretty well. So I think that's credit to the drafting there. On the other side, though, for Ruddy, you do now have to be a little bit afraid of these picks being pocket picks, about the comfort coming on through, the fact that Envy's Yasuo, the Nunu coming out, are real threats that will be played with real style, and perhaps against what might be a meta option that might have otherwise dealt with them is a pretty big deal, actually. And if they can continue to have those ones as things they can do against potentially someone like a Verdant or a Native, so they want to push them a little bit harder and make them think a little bit harder about draft, that could be pretty valuable.
I think that this is it's really important that you look at how many bans were actually thrown Ruddy's like target champ pool's way, and they still managed to make the Yasuo work. Right, we saw Sejuani banned away. People go, okay, well now we'll, and then Ruddy go, okay, well we'll play Gragas and we'll make that work, and they do. And then teams go, okay, well we'll ban the Gragas as well, and now they've pulled out a third thing that also pairs with the Yasuo. At what point do you just take out the Yasuo, swallow pride, and say, okay, we can't deal with this. There's too many things that they've paired with it that look good to have, you know, too much of an advantage.
Yeah, and you said you were happy with the way that Ruddy, they closed out the game. Someone who I assume is going to be very proud of this is the interviewee that we have coming up here on our screen right now. I believe. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hiya, hello. I can hear you over and out. Yes, I'm Mel.
Hello,
I'm
Mel.
Jake's mum. Hello, nice to actually talk to you. I see you a lot, but I don't actually talk to you. No.
Yep.
Yeah, Jake sort of like set me up for this. Apparently I've got some questions, so I'm all up for it and ready to go.
How does it feel to be the mom of such an entrepreneurial person such as Don Jake, you know, having great success with the Ruddy brand?
It feels great. I'm so pleased for him. He has been working so hard, you know, it's something that he has really put all his energy into. It's a creative process that has evolved into something that's solid now. And I think, yeah, things are starting to happen. So let's hope that they continue to. And I wish Ruddy all the success in the world.
So I kind of want to talk about, so would you say that Jake's creative genius comes from your side of the family?
I would say it's probably from both sides. I mean, I'm creative, Dad's creative, Jake's very creative. Yes, maybe a bit of like more sort of business sense from Dad. Me, I'm a bit like more visual. So yeah, hopefully there's a balance there going on. And
Awesome.
yeah, definitely. I think Jake's got very good directorial skills. He is a communicator. And I think we've always, both as parents, tried to kind of talk to them and instill them in lots of things and bring them into lots of different areas of life. And yeah, definitely.
So he kind of tries to involve you guys on like some of the more like some creative decisions sometimes maybe, or
Yeah, he does. Yeah, yeah, when he's a little bit unsure. I mean, I do sort of like offer advice sometimes. It doesn't always go down well, but I think, if I've got something important to say, because Jake is he's got a mission going on. I think if I've got something to add, then yes, he would take it on board.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for a great interview, and hopefully you are very proud of your son's project.
I am indeed. Thank you so much talking to you, and you indeed.
Did you want to say something about our former people that came and stayed here at the boot
yeah,
camp?
just one thing I wanted to say. I'm just thinking about these guys now. We did a boot camp here. It was so good.
Last split.
Yeah, Nick and
Jonas.
What happened to them? They've kind of like deserted us now.
One of them went to Natives, one of them went to Vernon.
Will went to Spain, one of them went to Berlin, and one of them went to Metz. So yeah. What was that all about?
But I've got my mum to
Was
come.
I not a good cook enough?
I've got my mum to come on now. Jonas, that's Nita from Verden, and then Voxnay.
And I still got their t-shirts.
Then Voxnay from Natives. You guys have betrayed my mother. She cooked for you, and this is how you repay her. And yeah.
We miss you, but hopefully, maybe at some point in the future, they might come back.
Ruddy up.
Ruddy up. All right, lovely to talk to you. You take care.
Likewise.
I'm gonna go now.
Take care. Likewise.
Yeah, bye.
We are gonna go straight into an interview with Hepsgaard, the coach of Vanir here. So I don't know how much you just heard of what I went through there, Hepsgaard, but
I heard it all.
Okay,
fantastic.
so let's talk about League of Legends instead, right? Should we try that? Sounds like a good idea, right? I mean, it's obviously not the greatest game for your side of the things here, but Zapdos Nunu finally coming out. Is this something you guys have been planning for in terms of like having to be able to have an answer for that?
No, especially like Nunu in itself, we didn't really plan for that, but I think we planned for the overall style that we're going to play. And I think actually our preparation were done well. I think we kind of got the draft we wanted, more or less, like some things we need to look at, right? And other than that, I think like we predicted them pretty well. They are kind of a team with like one unique style they do really well. And I think that's, even though you can kind of foresee what they're going to do, they're still like they're confident in their players. The players are good at what they're doing, and that's also something you need to take into account when playing against a team like Ruddy.
Yeah, so that like player skill level, I think, is a pretty interesting thing to talk about, right? Because like we had Envy carry on for an interview a while back. We was talking about like some players being like a little bit more scared. I should like we didn't really see you guys act scared. I'm not gonna like try to tell you guys like talk about you guys acting scared here, but something I kind of want to talk about a little bit about, right? One of the first times that we see you guys there's no affiliates in this game, right? And I think that's something that you guys have been preparing for a while. That at some point we are going to be forced to have Liam Cole on something that isn't affiliates, and you have had that so far as well. But how much of a spanner in the works is it when affiliates is removed from the available pool of champions for you?
So I think this game was kind of like it didn't really showcase what Liam Cole is truly capable of because of the weird 1v1 interaction there was, right? So I think like taking this game and saying, oh, he can only play affiliates is fake news, I would say. But at least this game was not like as shiny as his affiliates games. Of course, he's like a super talented player on affiliates, so it's really nice to see when he gets the champ. But other than that, like I think we have good options for a lot of other carries as well in the bot lane.
Yeah, because I'm actually kind of like, I want to talk this. This is the second time in the split we've seen you guys put Pubat onto a what I refer to as like a carry jungler. Like we've seen him on the Belveth as well. Now having a pretty good game on the Nico, right? Are you guys happy with the fact you have multiple avenues in the team to kind of have carries through?
Yeah, I think it makes us versatile, especially from a draft perspective, but also the way that other people's or other teams need to draft when they play against us. I think we've had showcased a lot of what can I say, like a good ability to play through every lane and also through the jungle, of course, right? So I think this, like, we're really gifted as a team. Like, we play with unexperienced players, but I think if you give us we need to build our foundations, and then we'll be a really strong team. So I'm looking forward to that, especially with a team like this that's so versatile and willing to put their time into the game.
Thank you so much for your time, Hepscom, and hopefully you guys will have a better week next week.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
With that, we are going to be throwing to a short break. When we're back, we're ready with match of the day, so don't go anywhere.